So, now that we discussed that, can a romantic relationship survive only on the bare minimum? Now, mind you, I just listed the bare minimum in the other videos. So, when I look at what the bare minimum is, that does seem pretty decent. But oftentimes, I'm not even receiving the bare minimum. So, like, and that's where the frustration comes from, because it's like you can care about a person, you can love a person, you can want to be with that person, but if you can't even get the bare minimum from that person, then is it really going to be a healthy dynamic? So, a relationship can technically survive on bare minimum effort, but it often leads to emotional starvation, loneliness, and diminished self esteem for the partner receiving it. While it may endure in the short term, sustaining a relationship on minimal effort usually leads to lack of genuine happiness, fulfillment, and long term stability. I can attest to this. I literally just felt like, why am I always the one doing everything and the other person is doing nothing? And it does feel like you're being emotionally starved because you're constantly pouring emotional labor into someone, but they're not willing to do the same for you. And it's like, then why are we talking? Um, yeah. Loneliness, this is something that's really deep because, like, how are we in a relationship and then yet still lonely? Which further proves, like, what's the point of being with that person if you're going to be with them and still be lonely? Because I definitely can relate to that. And diminished self esteem, it does damage your self esteem because, again, you're basically being neglected the entire relationship. So that's not gonna feel good. You're gonna feel like you're not good enough because they don't want to put in that effort with you, even though you're putting in that effort with them. And in many situations, even when you're discussing this with them, there's a lot of pushback and, like, it very dismissive goes over their head, and they somehow will turn that into you attacking them when you're just having a genuine conversation. Why bare minimum fails long term? Number one, constant exhaustion. You may end up carrying the relationship on your own, doing the emotional heavy lifting, and making all of the decisions. This is literally what happened. I was extremely tired of being the one putting in all of the effort, doing all of the emotional heavy lifting, having the conversations, trying to make repairs, trying to do conflict resolution. You know, when he had stuff going on, I'm checking in, like, are you okay? Can I help you with this? But then when I'm going through stuff, where are you? I can't even talk about certain things because it's going to cause an issue. And again, if we can't have honest conversations, then why are we together in the first place? Self doubt and guilt. Sustain minimal effort. Well, number two is self doubt and guilt. Sustain minimal effort can make you feel needy for wanting basic attention, causing you to question your worth. This is where I was at, where I've been at, because you're literally being made to feel needy for having basic needs. Like, meanwhile, the other person, this is what gets on my nerves with some people, and especially with men. They like to make it seem like they're stoic and they are avoidant and they don't care and this, that, and the third. But in the same breath, men are very codependent and very needy, yet they don't want to reciprocate any of that to you. So they're constantly needing reassurance, support, check ins, motivation, pick me uppers, all kinds of stuff that a lot of us are providing to them. But yet they don't want to give you reassurance, pick me uppers, support, love. Like, they don't want to give that to you. And it's like, how are you going to be asking for something that you can't give the other person back? Like, what's going on? All right. And then, like, I'm not needy for wanting basic attention from the person that I'm supposedly in a romantic relationship with. Like, what? And then this to me is also a further issue with men and relationships in general, because a lot of men also are horrible friends, horrible romantic partners, and horrible fathers. Because literally, they don't want to, some, not all, some men do not want, they make their kids feel like they're too much for wanting their dad to show up for them. So, I mean, it's just like, what is really going on? And this is what I mean by, for men, we have to work on our own selfishness, because you cannot spend your entire life only thinking about yourself and then wondering why you don't have relationships. Rather, that's friendships, platonic, romantic, family. You have to think about other people sometimes. It can't just be about us, you know? Then, number 3, the crumbs effect. You may stay out of hope, cling to small, infrequent good moments while ignoring the lack of consistent care. And that is a huge issue. There's no consistency, there's a lot of inconsistency. And when you have a lot of inconsistency, you can't really trust that person. You can't really depend on that person. But yet, every time he had an issue, he could reach out to me and he knew I was going to be there for him. I cannot say the same thing about him. And that's what I mean by that becomes draining and exhausting, because what is the purpose of having a romantic relationship if you can't depend on your partner? You can't lean on your partner. Your partner refuses to show up for you. How is that going to be healthy long term?